joined by Jennifer Kitchen, who's running for Virginia House of Delegates. Jennifer, thank you for being on with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. And I wanted to get right into it. You're running for House of Delegates. This is your second time running, is my understanding.
That's right.
You got 40% of the vote the first time you ran. What you call it? You're running again for 2022. I believe that there's no Democratic primary. You're just facing the Republican challenger. And can you tell us a little bit about why this is such an important race and why you decided to step in?
Absolutely. And the election is actually this November. So it's very exciting. This is my second run. I got 40% in 2019 with no resources. I am a lifelong rural Virginian, and I think that that's really important to this story. I started as a community organizer. I then started to work as a field organizer for a PAC. We were doing deep canvassing, issue-based canvassing in rural Virginia. And I found after knocking 11,000 doors and having a lot of conversations that the heart of all of those conversations were really the same. And that's that rural Virginians were not adequately being represented in Richmond, not in a way that impacted our daily lives in a positive way. And so I decided to run. I'm a mom, a community organizer. I am, like I said, a lifelong rural Virginian, and I've never seen myself in my representation. And I don't want my children to grow up here with the same problems that I grew up with, which is exactly what's happening. And so that's why I'm running to bring a strong rural voice to Richmond to fight for what we need as far as infrastructure, healthcare access, funding our education system so that we can thrive and really give back to the Commonwealth.
Amazing. Rural America often is, only spoken to and not about. Urban
Huge,
Chicago,
huge part
sympathize.
of the problem. And I think that the Democratic Party really needs to take responsibility for a lot of what's happened in rural America as far as voting patterns. It's really hard to vote for a party that only shows up every so often to ask for your vote and then they disappear. We need to be in communities everywhere, building relationships, helping support those people all the time and not just when we want their votes.
Amazing. And definitely seems, like Virginia, it is one of our original colonies. It is where our capital is closest located to. Like, it is a very important state in our Commonwealth, but it remains almost by design extremely rural. Um, Someone from the southwest side part of Chicago, can you explain a little bit of like why these dynamics have existed for so long, and just reemphasize why has it been that like the high capital party, like the Republican Party, has been able to win over rural voters thus far?
Sure. I think a lot of times it's easy for folks to get frustrated with rural people. They see rural communities as voting against their best interest. And like I said before, a lot of that has to do not with the fact that rural people are in any way deeply committed to or married to the Republican Party or their ideas, but they're always here. And when you always see someone in your community, it's easier to trust them. Also, something that we hear out of the Republican Party a lot is that government doesn't work for you. Therefore, when they get into office, that's the only promise they truly have to deliver on.
Right.
And that makes it really difficult to have meaningful conversations with rural people. But that dynamic that exists here in Virginia and across the country, rural communities are vital. Rural areas are where most of our farming happens. If you enjoy a meal, thank a farmer, thank a rural community for providing that for you. And there's a lot of history and rich culture that exists in rural communities that's really important to the American story and really to continue to grow American culture here as we combine things from different places.
Most definitely. I mean, I truly believe in the power of stories and storytelling. It's very human. And we all have our own personal stories and larger stories behind us.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's really deeply important here in the valley and Appalachia as a whole. You know, here with the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, Appalachian storytelling and music is very important to our history.
Definitely. To bring it to a little bit of a timely topic,
Sure.
not to take away too much from the race, but Facebook being down, and you are running on broadband as a right, as the needed community connector and utility of our time. Can you speak to a little bit more of that? Because I feel like our generation's been knocking a lot of doors lately, got really into the electoral process, understands the power of conversation and storytelling to each other to building mutual understanding. What role is the internet and broadband playing in rural organizing, like you're participating in for your race?
Sure. So you can't participate in society at large without access to the internet now, and I think we really saw that through the pandemic last year. I think one thing, the internet, rural broadband is something that we have been out here, you know, waving our hands, shouting for a long time. The pandemic shone a light on the gap in service providers. And that really happened because able bodied people were affected for the first time in a way that made them really uncomfortable. The truth is that the disability community everywhere has been talking about this for a very long time about the need to be able to communicate with people around you and access the internet in order to be able to do that. And so bringing the internet to rural America immediately addresses an issue of inequity in healthcare access, because then we can use things like telemedicine in a way that's meaningful and helps people's day in their daily lives. It helps the disability community just participate in their community at large. A lot of municipalities have been streaming their meetings, their board of supervisors meetings, city council meetings, all of these things to make them accessible. And some of that's going away now, and it shouldn't. We've shown that we can make all of these things accessible to everyone, for everyone to be able to participate, and we need to build on that, not take that away. Also, our education system in rural areas in Augusta County, where I am, my kids were virtual learners last year. And because we couldn't guarantee anyone's access to the internet, everything was done in an asynchronous style. So the students didn't log in at a specific time for class instruction every day. What happened was that they were given their assignments and given tools. And if they needed help, they had to set up meetings with their teachers. And so I know adults that don't have time management skills that are up to be able to handle that sort of schedule, you know? And
Right.
so a lot of students fell behind. And we really need to be planning for not if something like this happens again, but when something like this happens again, we need to be prepared for it. Um, the internet's not going away. It's not a new phenomenon. We need to build for our future and stop being surprised when it gets here.
Oh, well, very well said. And Bill, and speaking on building that future, and how do we get you into Virginia House of Delegates? How can our viewers at home help you and get involved in your race to make sure that you get into the House in after
Sure.
November?
Yes, so we are all over social media, Twitter and Facebook, but the best place to start is the website, which is electjenniferkitchen.com. You can go there. There's a nice little donate button. If that is the way you choose to help campaigns, we welcome your support. We also have opportunities for people to volunteer no matter where you are. You can make phone calls, you can send text messages, and you can help share our social media posts to make sure that those are boosted so more people see them. So we would love support from everywhere. What we're building here, while yes, we're trying to get me to Richmond, what we're also building is a blueprint for how to get Democrats, how to get progressives from rural communities elected to office so that we can get some creative solutions to problems that we've had for a really long time and hopefully solve them.
Jennifer, we're definitely wishing you the best of luck here at the
Thank
Collective
you.
Social Network. Thank you so much for being on with us today.